The problem is not the US, the problem is Europe.
With this statement, the NATO chief has highlighted the long-standing cracks in NATO's alliance regarding member states' defense spending. The divide is deepening, further exacerbated by US President Donald Trump's questioning of the bloc's commitment to Washington. Trump, known for his skepticism towards NATO, has announced that the United States may halt funding for the alliance, accusing its members of failing to adequately protect American interests.
One thing I do feel, the European Union should be paying a lot more than they're paying, because under Biden, I mean, we're in there for $200 billion more. Now, it affects them more than it affects us. We have an ocean in between, right? Little thing called an ocean. The European Union should equalize. We're in there for $200 billion more than the European Union. I mean, what are we, stupid? I guess the answer is yes.
NATO is well aware of the implications of antagonizing Donald Trump. The mere thought of the US pulling the plug on NATO funding has stirred concerns across the alliance. Leading this shift in the alliance's stance is NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. He has now called on Europe to increase its financial contributions, emphasizing the need for the continent to bear a larger share of the costs of supplying weapons to Ukraine. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Rutte stressed that continued US involvement is crucial to Kyiv's fight against Russia.
I'm still very much optimistic. We can handle this, the spending, the industry production, etc. And in Ukraine, we need the US also to stay involved and to do as much as possible to get Ukraine in a position of strength whenever peace talks start. But I can tell the Europeans, if this new Trump administration is willing to keep on supplying Ukraine with defense industrial from its defense industrial base, the bill will be paid by the Europeans. I'm absolutely convinced of this. We have to be willing to do that because at this moment they are paying more than the Europeans. And here Trump is right. It is a worldwide conflict, yes, but still Ukraine is closer to Europe than to the US.
Rutte's remarks underscore NATO's concern about maintaining US involvement in Ukraine. His comments came as Trump called on NATO countries to increase their defense spending from the agreed 2% of GDP to a higher 5%. But it's not just the NATO chief expressing concern. Major NATO allies have rallied behind the push for increased defense funding. Countries like France, Germany, Poland, and Lithuania have echoed the sentiment, offering their own reasons for strengthening the alliance's defense capabilities.
Let's make an opportunity out of this necessity of autonomy, an opportunity for a European strategic wake-up call. And the past few years have shown to those who thought that these scenarios were illusory or fictional that they occur more quickly than we think.
NATO is the central guarantor of security in Europe and of transatlantic relations. In recent years, we Europeans have done a lot together to strengthen the European pillar of NATO. Spending on defense is rising in almost all European states.
Some people think it's extravagant, or it is brutal or malicious. Warning when we say that we should spend up to 5% of GDP on our security. I would like to tell you that this is a time when Europe cannot afford to save on security.
We have agreed that in the 2026 to 2030 period, we will annually earmark from 5 to 6% of the gross domestic product for defense. This is very much in line with the requirements of the current NATO defense planning process.
On the other side, Hungary and Slovakia, both NATO and EU members, have fully supported Trump's anti-EU and NATO rhetoric. They've called on Brussels to reconsider its approach, warning of the consequences of being on the wrong side of Trump's agenda.
We will return to the primary path of history, that's for sure. You have listened to the new U.S. President's speech yesterday and seen his decisions. I also told the Prime Minister that, in my view, in two parts of the world, leaders do not yet see how quickly everything has changed. One of the places is Brussels. If they continue to pursue their pro-war policy, I'd say it's time for them to wake up.
The world has completely changed, and our opposition leaders can say whatever they want, that we are somehow talking too openly and too freely about the EU and NATO. It is our duty. If we are not prepared for these changes that they are coming, we will end up very badly.
Virtually addressing the Davos summit, Trump justified his demand by pointing to NATO members' historic underfunding. To bring back strength, peace, and stability abroad, I'm also going to ask all NATO nations to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, Trump said.
To bring back strength and peace and stability abroad, I'm also going to ask all NATO nations to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, which is what it should have been years ago. It was only at 2%, and most nations didn't pay until I came along. I insisted that they pay, and they did, because the United States was really paying the difference at that time, and it was unfair to the United States.
Rutte aligned with Trump's push to pressure Russia, emphasizing that Ukraine must secure a stronger position before any potential peace talks. Meanwhile, Trump's envoy for special missions, Richard Grenell, criticized NATO countries, including the Netherlands, for not bearing their fair share of defense costs.
The American people are the ones that are paying for the defense. You cannot ask the American people to expand the umbrella of NATO when the current members aren't paying their fair share. And that includes the Dutch, who need to step up. And so when we have leaders who are going to talk about more war, we need to make sure that those leaders are spending the right amount of money.
Because the United States was really paying the difference.
While Trump's administration has intensified demands, it has also highlighted NATO's ability to adapt to rapidly changing geopolitical challenges. The debate over funding and shared responsibility has exposed the alliance's fragile balance as it grapples with increasing demands. Europe's willingness to assume greater financial responsibilities will serve as a litmus test for its commitment to supporting Ukraine.